Welcome, Age of Vintage Society. Gene Kelly was a dancer whose athletic style transformed the movie musical and did much to change the American public's conception of male dancers. Gene Kelly was a performer like no other. Why was everybody afraid of Gene Kelly? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. Gene Kelly didn't dance away from his secrets. The dark side of Singing in the Rain star Gene Kelly. With such classic movie musicals as Singing in the Rain, Anchors Away, On the Town and An American in Paris, Gene Kelly came to symbolise American post-war optimism. In a t-shirt and khakis he brought a muscular athleticism to dance, worlds apart from the top hat, white tie and tails elegance of Fred Astaire. Yet behind Kelly's gymnastic exuberance hid a ferociously competitive egotist with a savage temper. Apparently the iconic choreographer was quite the exacting director. Was Gene Kelly a real jerk? Athletic and energetic, Kelly was the king of the musicals in the 1940s and 50s. Not only did Kelly star in some of the genre's most famous films, he worked behind the scenes, breaking new ground with his choreography and direction. Kelly is remembered for his lead role in Singing in the Rain, regarded by some as the best dance film ever made. He boldly blended solo dancing, mass movement and offbeat camera angles to tell a story in purely visual terms. Seemingly able to do it all, he was an actor, singer, choreographer, producer and of course dancer. His style of dance was a combination of classical ballet and athleticism, and he did a great deal to change the way America viewed male dancers. He danced with a mouse, danced on roller skates, tapped and twirled, but he's best remembered for his iconic umbrella dance in 1952's Singing in the Rain, changing the movie musical forever. One of 5 children, Kelly was born on August 23, 1912 and grew up in a working-class neighbourhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His Irish-Canadian-German father made a traditional living as a phonograph salesman, but his mother had other ideas for Gene and his brother. Born into a large Irish Catholic family, Kelly attended Catholic school as a child and seemingly considered himself Catholic. However, a 1939 trip to Mexico shook him to his core. Seeing how wealthy the church in contrast to the poverty of the people made him question everything he'd been taught. When Gene was 8, his mother enrolled both boys in dance lessons. They both disliked it. In fact, they rebelled against her and constantly got into fistfights with the neighbourhood boys, who weren't artistically inclined and called the Kelly brothers sissies. Gene Kelly was always a tremendous athlete who played football, baseball and took gymnastics. By the time he was 15, Gene had developed skills in other sports and could defend himself from ridicule and physical threats in the streets. He played hockey semi-professionally, and while he may not have chosen hockey as a career path, he did credit the sport for his wide open and close to the ground dance steps. And who says hockey and dance don't mix? He could also hold his own on the baseball diamond, having discovered a love for the sport. He dreamed of playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates. His mother, however, had different ideas. She was the arts lover in the family and pushed Kelly to take dance lessons. He initially wanted to quit dance because he didn't like being teased, but then he made a key discovery. Girls love a boy who can dance. Although Gene Kelly's youngest brother Fred was the sibling who more immediately took to dancing, a young Kelly did perform with his 4 siblings in an amateur family act called The 5 Kellys, which his mum put together. They performed vaudeville acts throughout the 1920s, and in 1928 the Kellys started their very own dance academy. Kelly was on track for a bright future. But everything was about to change. With the stock market crash of 1929, Kelly was forced to transfer out of the journalism program at Penn State. He moved back home to attend the University of Pittsburgh as a money-saving measure. Kelly dug ditches, worked as a gas monkey, at a soda fountain, and as a carpenter's helper to make enough money to stay in school. While studying at UPitt, Kelly put his dancing skills to use. At age 19 he began teaching with his brother Fred at the family's dance school. He'd visit nightclubs, watch movie musicals, and attend vaudeville shows to learn new routines to teach his students. As his reputation grew, his mother decided to rename the studio the Gene Kelly School of Dance, and it proved to be a great idea. Teaching was great and all, but it wasn't enough for Gene Kelly. Among other things, he also wanted to try choreography and directing. He also really wanted to learn ballet, so he attended summer classes at the Chicago Association of Dancing Masters. The school quickly recognized Kelly's talent and asked him to teach a few of the classes as well. It took him until 2 months into law school before he finally decided to focus on performing and teaching dance full-time. He would eventually dislike teaching as students began dropping out heavily at 16, and he moved to New York to look for choreography work. In 1938 he moved to New York City and won a role as a chorus member in Cole Porter's Leave It to Me, figuring prominently in star Mary Martin's show-stopping number My Heart Belongs to Daddy. Film producer David O. Selznick offered Kelly a Hollywood contract, and Kelly accepted, doing so because Selznick did not require a screen test of him. After 6 months, Kelly's contract was sold to MGM, and he worked for MGM for the next 16 years. Kelly made his film debut opposite Judy Garland in For Me and My Gal, immediately endearing himself to moviegoers with his carefree acting and spontaneous athletic dancing style. It was not until he was loaned to Columbia Pictures to co-star in the Rita Hayworth musical Cover Girl that he was able to bring his own special artistic vision to the big screen. Before Kelly's arrival, the movie musical had been divided into essentially 2 basic styles: the splashy, impersonal, girl-filled extravaganzas of Busby Berkeley and the intimate personality vehicles of Fred Astaire. Kelly adroitly bridged the gap between Berkeley's cinematic pyrotechnics and Astaire's straightforward theatrical approach with Cover Girl's alter ego number, in which, with the aid of meticulously timed special effects work, he performed a 2-man challenge dance with himself. He introduced another innovation in Anchors Away when he danced with an animated cartoon mouse, Jerry of the Tom and Jerry cartoons, and in The Pirate he staged the first of his many filmed ballets, boldly blending solo dancing, mass movement, offbeat camera angles, and vibrant colours to tell a story in purely visual terms. From there, Gene carved out a unique style for himself in the booming musical world. "I create what the drama and the music demand," he said. "While I am 100% for ballet technique, I never let technique get in the way of mood or continuity." Kelly often played a guy who feels that the best way to get what he wants is to impress people. He almost always realizes, however, that his brashness offends people, and that he will more easily succeed by being himself. But everyone was afraid of Gene Kelly. He co-directed and choreographed the dance and routines of Singing in the Rain as well. Even Donald O'Connor admitted that Gene's hyper-focus on perfection led to a tense time on set. He was terrified of making even the smallest mistake during the first few weeks of filming and getting yelled at by the leading man. Debbie bore more of Gene's aggressive methods, saying years later that finishing this film and surviving childbirth were 2 of the hardest things she had ever done. However, she also said she learned a lot from him through the arduous process too. Gene Kelly asked Donald to bring back a signature move from his younger days, running up to a wall and doing a somersault, though at this point he was smoking 4 packs a day, making the feat much more difficult. He agreed and ended up needing a week's rest due to exhaustion and painful carpet burns. His luck got worse again though, when all of that initial footage was lost in an accident and he was obliged to do the whole thing all over again. After filming the complicated choreography for Good Morning, Debbie suffered burst blood vessels in her feet and needed to be carried to her dressing room to recover. Ever the perfectionist, Gene also decided that her work wasn't quite good enough and dubbed the sound of his own tapping over hers. Debbie sometimes slept on set. At just 19 years old, Debbie was still living with her parents when she was cast as Gene's leading lady and would commute from home by leaving at 4 a.m. and taking 3 different buses to the studio. Occasionally, she would cut out the middleman by simply sleeping overnight on set. Gene was just as tough on himself as the rest of the cast. Despite reportedly having a fever of 103 degrees, he was adamant that he run through a take of the Singing in the Rain scene, even though the director kept insisting he go home to rest up. Instead, Gene improvised choreography on the spot that would end up being what we see in the film. Gene Kelly put Debbie Reynolds through hell during Singing in the Rain. Debbie was trained as a gymnast, not a dancer, and Gene would drill her over and over again on the choreography. At one point she was so fed up that she ran and hid under a piano. That's where Fred found her crying and, after seeing how distressed she was, invited the young actress to watch him practice one of his own routines, something he rarely allowed anyone to do. When she saw how much hard work it was for the master dancer, huffing and puffing away as he worked through the steps, she found the strength to carry on herself. Kelly's widow, Patricia Ward Kelly, said her husband designed routines to suit his partners, whether they were professional dancers or not. Gene always said, "You choreograph to the woman," so he choreographed to Debbie's capabilities. You want your partner to look the best he or she can possibly look. And that was always his intent with Debbie, and she worked like a trooper and became a big star. Though it's reported that Reynolds eventually took a perspective of gratitude for everything Kelly had put her through because it made her a better performer, the exacting director later admitted, "I wasn't very nice to Debbie. I'm surprised she still speaks to me." Gene Kelly died in 1996 after 3 marriages and 3 children. He had requested no funeral services, and so one of Hollywood's most celebrated entertainers faded away without a formal observation from family and friends. Today, many young dancers and choreographers study Kelly's impressive style and technique, emulating their work after the man who showed such a great level of passion and enthusiasm for the world of performing arts. Gene Kelly has gone down in history as one of America's premier entertainers. His legacy continues to warm the hearts of movie fans today. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Now it is your turn. What do you think about the life and legacy of Gene Kelly? He was a perfectionist, a maniac sometimes. He's got a temper for sure.